Welcome to another newscast reporting on the grand politics of the Empire of Dracoria. Another turn of the Game of Shadows has been completed, and I am here to give you the results and updates. So let's dig into it, shall we? This is the first quarter of the year 9 after the Chronolob was inaugurated, and that means that this is about 9 months after the events in Marjura. So let's dig into this particular session, this particular turn of the Game of Shadows. We will start in Trinsmira this time. In Trinsmira, the northern island. And here comes the various intrigues. In Milake, we have inconspicuous witches. These witches have mobilized again. A potion here, a poison there. It's all worth teaching to the new members of the Coven, and the initiates bring their own talents to the circle, and thus level up from level 3 to level 4. That is what a mobilize action does. Lemur Spades Milaki nobles also mobilize. The Condottier are worried by recent events and turn to consultation with one another and their Dracorian paymasters. It seems that this posting may be far more dangerous than anticipated. With the ensuing lapse in close scrutiny, the nobles gather more freely. Their households begin hiring new staff to help with winter renovations. And so this unit is also, in fact, mobilizing from level 3 to level 4. And here we have Fundiberos priests who mobilize yet again. It is good to see clergy taking to the streets to serve the needy. It is better to see the converts grow. What a gentle, friendly faith. These, of course, being priests of Leviana, I would think, because it is Fundiberos priests, after all. So, yeah. But they will, in fact, grow from level 3 to level 4 this turn. And they will soon be maxed out. Level 5 is the max you can have in this system. Lemur Sped, however, he has Fire Mountain Crones, and they will be increasing influence from level 1 to level 2. Lemur is betting 3 fate dice for the 3 levels of Fire Mountain Crows. And Crones, sorry. A lone man arrives on a hilltop in Himagond, within sight of the main road south of Coal Hall, with a limp and the gnarled hands of a fisherman. He erects a tent in the snow and waits. All those who stop to speak with him hear the same message. My name is Larmans, and I am a patriot. Trinsmira's finest have destroyed a Dracorian Karak and taken 75 prisoners, including their noble captain. We seek a peaceful exchange of prisoners with the Empire. It is our desire to exchange 74 of the prisoners for Trinsmiran men, women and children currently enslaved in the mines by the Empire. The noble officer will be ransomed for a single sword forged from stolen Trinsmiran steel placed into my hand. For every slave and citizen executed by Kimba the Butcher before this trade is completed, one of the prisoners will be burned alive slowly and with excellent ventilation. This calls to mind for all the Trinsmiran locals that there is a possibility to resist the colonizers. And this in total has 7 dice, and it succeeds quite well. So Lemur will in fact increase his influence here from level 1 to level 2. As the locals find Lemur's call to arms appealing. Kark. Let's go to Kark. The Mummers, they are raising influence to level 3. See, there's a lot more raise influence this turn now. Come home, come all to the new production. It is a play about a small island in the frozen north making a noble last stand against the undead and the evil empire that unleashed them. Fundibera herself is taking part in this conspiracy, using her magic to influence the local procurator and all the other Drakorian high-level people with magical suggestions to place them under her sway. She has, in fact, two dice for the influence, 1 die for herself being there, and 3 fate dice for the mummers in question. And altogether, it's 6 dice, and she has the 3 successes she needs. So, indeed, she raises the influence here to level 3. And not only that, that gives her 3 fate dice for her chalice, and that allows her also to buy a new resource, which she does. Specifically, she gets herself the resource... where did that go? She gets herself guards level 1. This means that Fundibera now has dominant control over Kark, which is interesting because this is supposed to be a bulwark for Drakorian powers. Mixa, finally, to go to the final seer of this area. Here, the Highlanders mobilize. As winter drags on, the Highlanders' rough shelters become sturdier and larger. And low walls of earth begin to rise to cut the bitter winter wind and provide shelter. Indoor fires require stone chimneys and hearths, while the first sauna is built for those victorious in the games. Fishing vessels flock to the coast of Mixa in an ever greater number with fresh protein for sale, and not all of the ships leave thereafter. And so the Highlanders go from level 3 to level 4. Moving on to Palamux. Here in Nastrol, there are Gerion's laborers in Nastrol construct floats for the wedding festivities that are to come and send them to Fontrasilor, and thus they mobilize and level up from level 3 to level 4. In Fontrasilor, we have courtiers under Princess Folda, and they are working their trade as before. It was a convincing performance, to be sure, but Lady Brittany didn't believe it for a moment. A whirlwind romance, really? Did the princess actually expect people to buy this? They knew what Gary Grotesky looked like, after all. He'd been at this much longer than she had. Who could fall in love with a face like that? But if this was how her mistress wanted to play it, well, it was all in support of the cause, after all. So she dutifully exclaimed over the banners embroidered with 2 G's for the bride and groom's shared first initial. She made arrangements for the fountains of Fontrasilor to flow with beer and wine in celebration, and even if she personally thought it a waste of all that good Safinam beer in particular. And slowly but surely the city became infected with royal wedding fever. And so the courtiers are now, in fact, level 4. In Moscoria, the illusionists in Moscoria are raising influence to level 3. They will help Gerion gain an audience with the Grand Sintald Edwil Hustler of the Illusionists Academy. Arrangements are made, hands are shook behind closed doors, and Folda's merchants assist, acting as intermediates and providing logistical support. This powerful union before the Grand Sintald and the nobles of Moscoria ensures Gerion a hold over the region, None of the local magistrates, councillors, mayors, or powerful merchants will dare oppose them now. The roll is 8d6 in total for the help from Folda and so on, and it is enough to succeed. So here is in fact another level 3 influence for a player on this Smickle board. And with that, Geryon uses one of his 1 fate dice to buy a new resource called Spies level 1. It seems that Folda and Geryon are getting along very well indeed. Lasimos, of course, sees no intrigues at all this quarter of the year because there's nothing there. But in Zidisbar, things are happening. G&G, so the princes and the rebel leader, publicly announced their upcoming wedding while proclaiming that this is the start of rebuilding the old Klavikian Empire and removing all Trakorians from first Zidisbar and then Palamux. A promise to be the heart of the new Klavikian Empire. The foolish nobles of Fontasilor are the cause of our temporary fall, but we shall rebuild here in Zidisbar. The mentalists command the current rulers and nobles in various tribes and clans and local magistrates that the word of Geryon can be trusted, and Folda scholars assist providing evidence that questions official imperial narratives. This then has 3 fate dice for the 3 mentalists. They have no influence here, either of them, so they don't get any support from that. But Geryon himself is here participating, adding a die, and of course Folda's 3 scholars help with another 3 fate dice. So it's 7 dice in total, and it succeeds. So here, from 0 to 3 in influence, right away for Geryon Groteski. He basically staged a coup in Zidisbar this turn, and is now the dominant power in this province of the Empire. I don't know how the Empire factions will respond to that. He also buys, using one of his newly earned fate dice, a new resource called Loyalists level 1. Clearly, the anti-Trakorian forces are deeply inspired by Geryon's example. We go on to Paratorna. And we start in the north, of course, as always. And it's quite straightforward. Gosgana Skugre uses his agents of the default guild. They are still few and far between, and the guild offers good pay to anyone capable enough to join. And since this is one of the few employers available in the wretched province, capable candidates flock to the opportunity. And so the agents are mobilized from level 1 to level 2. In Rule, the actors seek to recruit new talents to their shows, setting up several new troupes to deliver comedies based on the stories of the Marshfolk, mobilizing from 2 to 3. And finally, in Paraltro, the alchemists spend this winter acquiring new ingredients for their potions. Ciola is a bigger port than anything existing in Elaboria and offers better opportunities for good acquisitions, and so they will go from level 3 to level 4. In this area, the bankers that serve Ingolma Dokela, the mafiosi leader, will also in fact level up. They will do mobilize action. They lean harder on their debtors, forcing payments to come due. Something is definitely being planned by the Wigmakers Guild with this push for gold, and so they go to level 4. Gobalagrumin's soldiers do not take any action this turn. Well, they were held in reserve, and then it turned out they weren't needed. In Hiltre and Hudger, Clenordis Binalunga's agents are here, and they will, in fact, raise influence to level 2. The order has come for more lumber to support the Navy's orders for new ships to squelch the uprisings. The foresters work hard to coordinate the felling and transportation of the trees. And here we have level 1 influence that gives 1 die, level 2 influence in Britalva, and in Britalva gives another die, so that's 2, plus the 2 for the foresters, the 2 fate dice, that's 4 in total, and she rolls 3 successes out of 4, so her influence goes up to level 2, which gains her a couple of fate dice as well. Moving on to Tresilva, the capital of these islands. Rovendo Alicella's agents are focusing on security. It is the highest concern for the enlightened nobility today, especially with all those nasty rumors going around in the backwaters. Before too long, warns Alicella's letters, the servants might soon start grumbling, and which among us has time for such distractions? Alicella sends his agents to the most prominent locations, has them evaluate the safety of venues for the next festival or celebration. So few places make the cut. Bad sightlines and all. A single archer could cause chaos. While the agents offer advice and do not charge for such evaluations, it does beg the question, how safe are any of us really? And so they level up from level 3 to level 4. Gubadagrumi, however, is trying to take over Tresilva. She is going for influence level 2 in this area. And after spending time collecting information, the secretaries send letters to all the right people, pushing just the right buttons to increase the influence of Gubadagrumi and the Digitalunga. She bets 3 fate dice with these secretaries. She has influence level 1 already, and plus another influence level 2 in Peraltro, so that gives her 5 dice, and she needs 3 successes to do this. 2 successes. Yeah, she's aiming for influence level 3, indeed, so she needs 3 successes to do this. However, Ingolma's enforcers block. They demonstrate their control and power. Where the secretaries write letters and push buttons, they break legs and push people downstairs. Because that's how the mafia rolls. Hashtag mafia rules. And that is sufficient. Enforcers level 3. She had 5 dice, minus 3 for Enforcers level 3. That gives 2 dice and she needs 3 successes, so it's an automatic failure. That was Tresilva this turn. Nothing happens in Newmark because there are no resources to act there. But in Malusa, things will be happening. And here, some parties, this is Alicella's contact, some parties have vicious little puddles of gossip, stagnant pools of scandal that never go anywhere, that dry in the hangover heat of the morning sun. How droll. Better a river of blackmail, the kind that Alicella's contacts are adept at navigating, and truth be damned, did you hear about the shocking brutality in Tresilva? Dorkella's thugs? So unnecessary? What is she trying to prove? Is there something that has her worried? Ridiculous. She runs such a tight ship. Surely these outliers are rogue enforcers going over her head, but, well, that says something about the people she trusts, I suppose. Dorkella isn't even a target. None are safe. Even Alicella gets his turn on the spit, though the rumors surrounding the Duke are so ridiculous to be unbelievable. Outrage and shock makes the people talk and turns the wheels of the rumor mill. Alicella merely sells the flour. And so the contacts level up from level 4 to level 5. They are now maxed out. The most powerful resource on the board currently, everyone. That can be interesting. The organizers in this area, Dorkella's organizers, have wormed their way into the hearts and minds of the citizenry and have brought several new labor forces under their protection. It is becoming impossible to conduct any illegitimate business in Malusa without being part of the wig makers. Thieves, bookies, dealers, and other black market operators must receive a license and permission to operate here. Citizens rejoice. And so this group of organizers also level up from level 3 to level 4. Things are starting to happen on this board, aren't they, folks? I think so. We go to Bralorga, where, in fact, Clenorda Spinalunga's trade ship captains are located. And here she has no influence at all. Clenora's trade ship captains have come into port, their holds heavy with goods to exchange for others, especially slaves, to bolster production elsewhere as the Empire needs. And so they mobilize from level 2 to level 3. In Bretalva, nothing much happens at all because there are no resources here. But in Karamak, something will happen. Duchess Clenora herself is here, and she has come to mentor the young Chiastra da Cartarinda, the Duchess, or the soon-to-be Duchess, when her ailing father finally passes. And Clenora will help this young person with her ladies-in-waiting. It cannot be long now before the young noble's dear father passes, and it is important to make sure that you have the right friends in the Bodak being, of course, the Parliament of Tracoria. So, Clenora is trying to raise influence from level 2 to level 3, and also has an actual bonus here, because behind the scenes the Duchess has set up, as if you have watched the show, you noticed how Clenora set up a nice extortion and blackmail on the Cartarinda using certain materials. So Cartarinda will herself help out here. And it's 8d6 in total, and we get the 3 successes we needed, only barely, but that counts too. So the Duchess now has level 3 influence in Karamak, and has thus flipped Chiastra da Cartarinda from being in the new sphere to being with the old Empire party. And she also uses one of the dice that she wins on this to get herself some naval captains, naval officers, level 1. Naval officers 1. There we go. And finally then to Safina, where there's only really the Inquisition at this point. We'll see how long that lasts. Alright, we have in Korjulme, we have fishermen. And the fishermen, of course, they are mobilizing. Fishers, seeing that they have not contributed enough to the region, continue to work even harder, leveling up from level 2 to level 3. In the Frimboline Plains, we have farmers. And these farmers will, in fact, try to get influence to level 3. Having helped the nearby villages and townfolk are now getting more recognized for their contributions, and being thus elected to village councils, to mayorships, and positions in high importance, thanks to these pro-Inquisition farmers. The dice pool here is, let's see now, 5 altogether. And, oh, it's actually 6, because there's a maneuver in Ardahals first, we'll cover in a moment. So roll 66 and gets enough successes. So yes, influence is now level 3. And finally, we have working to influence level 2 in Ardahals, the witch hunters. They've been hot on the trail, and with the assistance of the Baru Sambarsin Korea himself, they have found and dealt with an anti-creationist plaguing the land, and the locals are deeply impressed and very happy for the help, as this person was causing problems. And 66 with to get 2 successes works, only barely, but it does work. So here we have then level 2 influence. And that concludes the turn. Currently, the dominant power on the shadow board is, in fact, the Gerion Groteski, the independence leader on Palamux. He has more influence points than anyone else, and that gives him 1 extra fate die as we get into the year 9 after the Chronolob was set up in this Game of Shadows. Let's see what might happen in future turns. Thank you for taking part of these news from across the Empire.